Okie dokie. Chapter 11, preparations for the practitioner. We're going to talk about self-care because that's also important. We need to be our best if we are trying to help people with their pain. Kind of like, if there's an emergency on a plane, you have to make sure you can breathe before you have the other people breathe, right? I know that's an extreme example, but that's my example. All right. Self-care for the therapist. This includes, but is not limited to, regular exercise. Now, this is just something we all should do that probably don't. Good nutrition, good hydration, good hygiene. You want to make sure you stretch, do stretching or balancing exercises, get enough sleep, and have good ergonomics and body mechanics when you are doing your massages. So we'll kind of bounce back. I feel like this is common sense, but with the nutrition thing, we are not in the field where we can just use the bathroom as we please. So be mindful of that on what you eat the day before or the day of your massage. I know that Taco Bell is delicious. But sometimes something like that is not the best choice of food when you can't relieve yourself. Does that make sense? Also, the better you eat, the better you feel. That's just common sense. Hydration, again, the better you hydrate, the better you feel. You also have to be mindful that you can't be drinking like a fish because you can't just go to the bathroom in between your massages. Sometimes you can. If it is an emergency, communicate with your client that there is an emergence or emergent matter at hand and that you are going to excuse yourself. If you can, this is why it's also, I think, important to have extra time in between clients. Do not dock their time because you have to go to the bathroom. And also, if you have to do the deed, the number 2, that happens, and it's the worst feeling in the world when you are doing massage and all of a sudden things grumble and you get the sweats and you're like, I'm going to die. In that case, you can excuse yourself. Or you can do what I do and pretend that you are out of lotion. Or your pump bottle's broken. I've only had to do that once in my career. But nature calls, sister. Or if you're sick, beforehand, explain to the client, like, I'm, having some belly issues. I didn't want to cancel on you, but I might have to step out. All right. And this happened before with me as well for that situation where I ate something wrong and I actually had to leave. So things happen. So just be careful of what you eat. Don't eat chicken salad that's been in your fridge for a week. Don't do it.
Don't eat keto candy.
Don't eat keto candy. Not too much of it. That's sugar-free. Good hygiene. You are in very close quarters with your human that you are working on. Please don't stink. And this is a lot of things. It could be BO, bad breath. Maybe you had onions with your lunch. Okay? All kinds of stinky things going on. Please shower, for the love of God. Also, be careful with what you shower with. Like scented things. If you still smell like you poured a Yankee Candle over you halfway through the day, don't use that soap anymore, please. Try to keep your fragrances at a low. If you do like to smell good, maybe just 1 or 2 spritzes. Call it done. Don't be like this and spraying every crevice on your body. If I can smell you after you've walked away, that is too much. So be careful of that. We had one girl that had like a body, it was 1111, that stuff. There's this company in Cambridge that makes like this whipped body butters and stuff. And she used one, and some guy on the clinical surveys, they have surveys, by the way, to judge your massage after every massage. She smelled like maple syrup, and he mentioned that. I'm like, well, it's better than other smells. Also, this goes for smokers of any sorts. Cigarettes, the devil's lettuce, whatever. If you are a smoker, make sure you don't smell like smoke when you are working on your clients. Cigarette smokers, it's really hard to get that nicotine smell out of your hands. So you might have to come up with a different type of soap, or not smoke during your shift. Or maybe vape during your shift. Not that that's good for you either. But at least you don't smell like nicotine. Because a lot of, as a non-smoker, you can smell that stuff like a hound dog. So be careful. This also means keep a toothbrush or mouthwash or mints or something where you work, so that you can freshen your breath, depending on what you smoked, what you ate, what you drank. Coffee is a big thing. I don't know about you, but this morning I brushed my teeth and then had coffee on my way to work. So I probably have the greatest breath. So a lot of people are like that. They continue to drink their coffee throughout the day. It smells bad on your breath. So toothbrush goes a long way. I actually keep Tic Tac in business, and we get Tic Tacs all the time at work, and we're always popping Tic Tacs right before our session. If you are a gum chewer, that's great, but you can't be chomping during your massage either, because some people don't like the sound of chomping. It makes me want to strangle somebody. So if you are a gum chewer, shove the gum in the side of your cheek during the massage, and don't be chomping it obnoxiously. At least you have good breath, though. All right, moving on. Stretching and balancing. In this picture, we have the therapist stretching, right? So I am guilty of this. I don't stretch unless I hurt. But you should try to start stretching your forearms, because the forearm muscles are getting a lot of repetitive stress. Stretch them.
I can give us a little something to do.
Yeah.
Because my forearms have not hurt at all, because I've been practicing arm balances this year. And one of the first things that they started with us was stretching our forearms and strengthening forearms and wrists.
That's good.
So
everybody learn from Hope.
Any day you guys want to do that, I can give you something quick to do.
Yeah, we should do that after I record this. I think it'd be fun. Reminds me, because I'm going to forget.
Okay.
So this would include stretches that now Hope is doing for us. But you can stretch your flexors and extensors. I call it the T-Rex stretch, where you keep your arms, your elbows close to your body. You grab your hand and extend the arm out. And here I'm stretching my flexors, because flexing goes this way. The opposite of flexing is stretching. And I can feel that all the way up. The opposite would be this way. And that actually really kills. I have chronic tendonitis in my wrist. This is your future. Right, so this would be like this. I was actually doing a really cool stretch while driving, opposition, and I was grabbing the pinky and the thumb and kind of doing one of these and pulling my hand into adduction, and it felt really nice and made it go away for a little bit. So just start playing with things, with stretches and moving your fingers different ways, and see what feels good, and take care of yourself in that aspect. Get enough sleep. That means a bunch of different things for everybody. I need a good solid, 8 to 9 hours, and then I'm like, woo, in the morning, singing to the birds like Snow White. That might mean 6 or 7 hours for you. That might mean 10 hours for you. Just make sure you feel good, because there's nothing worse than giving a massage when you are drained of all your energy. Which also means, for those who like to party, make sure you have the day off afterwards. Not calling off, but make sure that, you take care of yourself in that way. Body mechanics, I've already showed you guys the horse stance and the archer. Try to remember those when you're working. If you notice you're hunching over the table or in a weird position, straighten up so that you don't hurt yourself. There are going to be times where your body mechanics are lousy because you're trying to get to a muscle. Just know that you can injure yourself still. All right, common LMT injury sites. I have this little yellow box on the bottom. Most of it is thumbs, wrists, shoulders, because we're using our shoulders instead of our body weight. And your low back just from standing and reaching, and you just take care of all that stuff. Ergonomics and massage tables. So, yes, we have to be mindful of how we're standing, but also our equipment needs to be adjusted to how we need it to be adjusted. So this would be your tables, your stools. Everything is, well, not everything. Our tables aren't hydraulic here, but your stools are hydraulic for a reason, so that you can get the height you need to be so that you are comfortable. Table height. I don't know if I've told you guys this, but typically if you have a larger client, they are going to sit higher up in the table, and that might throw everything all off for you. So if you know ahead of time that your client is on the larger end, drop your table down a notch or two so that when you're working on them, they are still the height you need them to be for proper body mechanics for yourself. Smaller clients, you can adjust the table higher. This is why a hydraulic table is gold. So you can just step on a button and it goes up and down. Because they don't sit as high up off the table, your average height might feel too low because they are a smaller person. You can either adjust the table or you can get in a lower squat when you're in your archer or your horse stance. For the tall people in the class, if your table is really high up to accommodate, as I look at the tall person in the class, accommodate your height, make sure they can get onto the table still. If they can't, you might want to offer a stool. We do have stools. I have to find them. I think one's up front. I don't know. So put a stool underneath the table for those clients that might need assistance. Even if the table is a normal height for you, some people are really short. So the stool is nice. You can get just one of those Rubbermaid heavy-duty stools or the ones with the handrail so that they can hold on to something. All right, the table width. Most of our table widths are about 30 to 32. I think the schools are 29, so they're even smaller. If you're traveling, you might want to consider a smaller width table so that it's easy to set up and carry. A lot of the tables come with a bag with a big strap that you can throw over your shoulder. Same with the massage chairs. They tend to have a bag that come in with a strap so that you can travel with them a little easier than trying to hold a really awkward table or chair. They also make carts that you can throw your table on and it's wheeled. I have one of those. I never use it. So, that's for traveling. So if you do have a table that's wider, it might put more strain on your back when you're reaching across the table. So I also wouldn't get the table that's the widest table out there. So a nice middle ground table, also depending on the size of your human. Pick a table that accommodates your shape and size. Ergonomics and scheduling. When you guys are working, whether you're working for somebody else or yourself, you need to manage your workload. So that means don't do too much, all right? You need to make it a nice scheduled day that doesn't completely stress you out, because that's not the point of this career. So, schedule time between clients. The most common is 15 minutes. I used to do that, but that stressed me out. So now we do 30 minutes at my office. Some people do an hour. They just want to decompress afterwards. Some people do what we do in clinicals and do a 50-minute session and a 10-minute break in between clients and work on the hour, every hour. I think that's insane. But if you have front desk help or receptionist, it is more easily doable. We do everything ourselves right now, so that is not going to work for us. So I like to do half hour. If you work for somebody, you can make suggestions. They might have rules and they're like, it's 15 minutes. You can voice those opinions or not work for them if you don't like how they do things. That's okay too. You need enough time to switch over your room. Some clients take longer than others to get dressed. So I have clients that fall asleep sometimes, and like 15 minutes later, I'm knocking on the door like, you good in there? And they're like shuffling. I can hear the blankets shuffling. And they've said thank you at the end of the massage and spoke to me. So they just were so chill. So you need to have enough room to switch over the room after they get out, and then complete your soap notes, or you can do what I do and just do them all at the end of the day and forget half the things you've done. It is a lot easier to do them as you go. So if a half hour isn't long enough, give yourself 45 minutes in between clients so that you don't have work to take home. Also, you need to have time for the next person. Maybe they didn't fill out forms, or you don't want to do digital and you want them to fill out forms in the office. They might need time to go to the bathroom. More often than not, a client will come in exactly at the time of their appointment or later and always have to use the bathroom. Never fails. So the late clients are in a rush and they have to pee. And you might have to go to the bathroom too. All right, so you got to figure out what is the best timing for yourself for all of these activities. So much room for activities. Breaks. Give yourself a break, or you're going to wear out and injure yourself. Give yourself time to drink stuff. Give yourself time to eat. You can bring a little bit of water in your room with you if you'd like. I tend not to unless I'm feeling really thirsty that day, and I'll bring like a little cup of water. You can do what you want. Don't bring food into your session. 1, that's weird, and 2, that's not sanitary. So during your time, your gaps, or your buffers, I call them too, you might just need time to decompress, lay around, take a nap, whatever, or stretch, use the bathroom, run an errand if you're your own boss and you need to get change for the drawer. So make sure you have enough time to do all these things. That's why I highly recommend half hours between your clients. You won't do as many massages that day, but you feel better and you're less stressed out. Where's this guy at? I want to pause this for a second. And I don't know how. Pause. All right. Demonstrating good body mechanics. So body mechanics is the observation and practice of body postures in relation to safe and efficient movement in everyday activities. So when you're doing massages, try not to only use your hands. That's why I'm trying to teach you guys to do forearms and elbows. You can even do like a therapeutic, not quite deep tissue with the forearm and elbow if you don't put a lot of weight in behind it. Okay. Also careful of overstretching. Like I do some moves where I reach across the reach across the table. But if you're doing that, make sure you are up against the table, not like 2 feet away from it and you're really reaching. So during a massage, do demonstrate good body stances, proper body stances. Make sure you're breathing. Sometimes when you're doing deep tissue, you notice you're holding your breath or like clenching. If you notice that, chill out. Or maybe you're going too deep if you can't properly take care of yourself while doing that pressure. Maybe you need to get stronger forearms like Hope. Also, you might want to practice centering and grounding techniques. Sometimes, whether you guys believe this stuff or not, sometimes a client will come in and their energy was so off that you feel off after the session. Now, that doesn't happen very often, but I do have clients where I'm like, oh my God, like you're kind of like almost dreading seeing them and spending the hour or hour and a half or however long they booked with them just because they are so draining and so negative. So you might want extra time after that person, or just to try to meditate or center yourself, ground yourself, have a smoke break. I'm just kidding. Sage the room. Smoke the sage. No, I'm just kidding. So find what works best for you when doing this. So there's a difference between centering and grounding. In the book, centering, they say, is the concept that you have a geographical center in your body about 2 inches below the navel. Right? So just try, breathe in, make sure, just pretend everything's going to that sunspot, we'll call it, and then breathe in the good stuff, exhale the crap, right? You've seen stuff like that. So breathe in the good, exhale the bad, and just kind of imagine it's all going to one central area in your body. Grounding is the concept that you have a connection with the earth, which we do, by the way. Everything that is living has an energy force, by the way. When the energy force is gone, it's not living anymore. So think about like how our heart needs an electrical shock to keep going. That is a form of energy, whether you believe in woo-woo stuff or science. Science backs it up. We are full of energy. Where am I at? We have a connection with the earth and the client. All right, that client has their own energy too, right? And that we function as grounding apparatuses to help that client release tension. So whether we know it or not, we might be bringing on that negativity. So also this means you need to release it after the session, or maybe you're going into that session with a bad attitude. Well, you need to nip it in the butt real quick, because it's not their fault that you're in a bad mood. It might be. Maybe Susan is a mean girl. Maybe she offended you. But you got to learn how to let go of that negativity. They have grounding mats you can purchase, or you can go take your shoes off and put your feet in the ground.
Grounding mats, what's that?
Okay, so grounding mats, I bought one. I should bring it in for fun. It plugs into the grounding port of your electrical socket. So the 3 prongs, it just plugs into the whole prong, right? And then what it does, it's that electrical current is supposed to be the ground current. So what that does is when you touch the mat, that does not electrocute you, by the way, it's supposed to give you that good energy back so that you can kind of balance your energy. The first time I used it, I slept on it, so I was like, I don't know if this works. And I slept on it, and the next day I had flu-like symptoms.
Oh, wow.
Really weird. So that can happen if you've grounded too much. It was really weird. So I'll have to bring it in for you guys so you can.
It must affect your iron or something, like with the electric.
I don't know what it did, but my body needs a balance. But I got better through the day, but I just felt really out of it and fatigued. And the next day I was fine. I was like, I think I did it too long. Yeah. So if you do get a grounding mat, they make grounding sheets too, like the flat sheet or blankets you can get as well. And they say to start a little bit at a time, not your full 8 hours of sleep, and then get kind of used to it. I took it off though because I sometimes sweat when I sleep, so you stick to it. But if you had the grounding sheet, it's, obviously a fabric and not like a faux leather. So there are now cool technological ways to ground yourself without going outside. But if you've ever noticed, you just feel the sense of calm when you're out in nature, especially when you're by yourself. It's like almost like a body chill. So be at one with nature more. It makes you feel better.
$20 at Walmart.
$20 at Walmart. Go get yourself a grounding mat. They have ones that you can just step onto. Like if you have a desk job, you can just keep it at your desk and take your shoes off and put your feet on it. They say you're supposed to have like skin contact. It's not really going to work well through your clothes. And mine comes with little pens like a little pen that you can touch to make sure the mat is getting an electrical pulse. And then I've touched other things and it doesn't light up. So I'm like, okay, this has got to be real, right? All right, postures and stances. We remember the horse and archer, right? Do I need to elaborate on this? Horse, acting like you're riding a horse. Knees apart, knees bent, back straight. Archer, one foot in front of the other. Back one straight, front one bent. Back straight as well. So the most common massage stance is the archer pose. You might see that random question on a quiz or on the NBLEX. Table mechanics. Watch your wrist positioning. Try to keep your wrists as neutral, as straight as possible. Some of the movements you're going to get a flexion or extension, but if you do one more than the other, you are going to injure yourself and get some kind of tendonitis or repetitive stress injury. It is proper, they say, to have roughly 3 feet of space all around your table. This is why it's important to have a room that's big enough that you can have your 3 feet of space. Some places will not offer you a room that big. Like, our rooms aren't that big at all. So we will not offer you it. But the book is telling you that is best for proper body mechanics, especially if you need to stretch or so that your client has enough room to get to their belongings, get dressed, and all that. Sitting. If you are sitting, try to keep your hips higher than your knees and your feet planted on the floor, knees at a 90-degree angle if you can, and your pelvis is slightly tilted forward when you are properly sitting on a massage stool. I don't do this at all. I always have one foot on the leg of it. I don't know why I do that, but that's comfortable for me. But if you notice that your stance is stupid, fix it, which I will do when I notice. I think it's because I'm short, so it feels more comfortable with, yeah. Who cares, Bridget? All right. Build strength and flexibility in your hands. This is going to take time. You guys might have soreness in your hands or wrists or tight forearms when you first start doing this until you get the strength. People ask me all the time, ooh, do your hands hurt? No. They're like, what? No, not at all. So your hands should not hurt after working. If they are, you are doing something wrong, or maybe you're just not strong enough yet. So be mindful of the alignment of your wrist. Your thumbs, remember we're going to brace the thumbs. You can brace your fingers. If you're doing some deep work in a smaller area, you might want to brace with another finger or brace with the other hand to keep the finger as straight as possible without bending the knuckles. Because if you're applying force to a bent joint, you are possibly going to injure that joint. So be careful of the alignment of your digits in your wrists. Also your shoulder. That's not on there, but if you're doing motions, make sure your shoulder is locked and you're using your weight and you're not just doing this stuff. Stay behind the massage moves instead of on top. So you'll notice a difference if you just put your hand on your leg or on a table somewhere. Notice that if I have my arm out this way, my wrist is more straight as opposed to if I were above working like this and it is in an extension. So try to keep the movements, try to stay behind your movements and not above that person. For deep pressure, I recommend not just using your fingers and your hands, but use your forearms and your elbows because you are going to prolong the life of your career. Use a cushioned palm side of the thumb and fingers instead of the tips. So there are moments when it is appropriate to use the tip of your fingers. But typically we're going to be using the soft palmar side when we're addressing issues. Also, if you're doing that and the weight is distributed nicely, as opposed to all the weight is jamming all of your joints into your hand. So careful with pressure and what part of your hand you're using. Keep your head up. This is hard because we're looking down at our work, but you're going to get to the point where you don't have to look and you can just do. So I close my eyes a lot during my massage. Then my client will like cough or sneeze and scare the living daylights out of me. Or they're snoring and I'm like, it happens. So keep your head up as much as you can. Shoulders relaxed, your arms relaxed. This is why I try to use the table to brace my body, especially when I'm doing the detailed neck work. I always have my forearms resting on the table as opposed to working like this. Just try to, if you notice your shoulders are doing one of these, chill, relax, shake it out, right? You might want to do stretches and exercises to build strength. Balance, it says. It's balance. And body control. You'll also notice that usually your dominant hand is more effective. This hand is worthless. I can do a lot better detailed work with my right hands, but it is important to do both hands so you don't wear yourself out and have this basically useless because it's full of tendonitis and arthritis. That's all, folks. Just kidding. So, all right. Shift Command 2.